What's the political fallout going to be for President Biden?
Well, this is a tricky one. You know, when it's easier to be a candidate when you're president, things like this happen and you own them. So he's in a tough position because the Republicans, I think former President Trump is going to kind of turn on the foghorn on the right and you know, start the political blame machine. And inside the Democratic Party on the left, there's going to be criticism that we haven't liberalized immigration policy very much. So, you know, it's a classic move to put the vice president in charge if you're the president, because that signals top-level engagement, you know, unifying the government, cutting through the red tape to do something. Though if you're Kamala Harris, you know, now you own it. And that's somebody with an eye on maybe a future presidential campaign. So I'm sure there was muted, quiet celebration within her office when this news came down. But now, you know, she's going to take it real seriously because they have to.
You're reminding me what Colin Powell once said. You break it, you own it. There's a lot of finger pointing on this. As you know, Mike, the Homeland Security Secretary says the Trump administration, quote, gutted the asylum system. Even the Wall Street Journal editorial board said of the former president's immigration policies, they left much to be desired. Do both presidents have something to blame here?
Well, I was a critic, even as a Republican critic of Donald Trump, of how they handled it. You know, the Biden record is kind of yet to be written on this. A lot of the problem, I'll give them credit, as they say, is there is this perception that there's easy asylum, which is drawing all the people to these camps that aren't equipped. So they're going to have to do the full diplomatic press they're talking about to kind of get partner governments to slow this down. But this is a thorny problem that doesn't get solved overnight. So my guess is that as this unfolds, there will be some criticism of the Biden administration because this is a hard one to fix quickly.
So how do you fix it? Is a path to citizenship the answer? You just had former President George W. Bush a week ago saying, quote, I do believe there should be a path to citizenship. Is there the will within Congress to do that?
Well, that's the question. I think the former President Bush is correct. I've supported it for a long time. But in the politics of the current Republican Party, where the shadow of Donald Trump and vengeful Trump primary candidates coming after you in a Republican primary, if you're a senator or member of Congress, you know, if it was a secret ballot, I think it would pass in a minute. But there's a lot of political fear over this hot button issue. And there are people inside the Republican Party saying, look, we can change the topic of the debate from Biden's action on coronavirus and COVID-13 compared to Trump's failures to disaster at the border. That's our sheet music. That means the debate goes our way. So the last thing we want is any of the people on our side, at least in the short term, giving him a way out. So I predict more immigration politics ahead, at least in the short term, and nothing passing.
Let me turn our attention, if I may, to the mass shooting in Boulder, Colorado, and the fallout there. What are Republicans in Congress willing to support on gun control?
Well, you know, polling shows that even among Republicans, there's overwhelming support for background checks to kind of tighten up the ability to prevent people with mental illnesses, criminal record, et cetera, from easily obtaining these highly deadly weapons. Though, again, in the interest group politics, it so tragically often takes over these debates. You know, there are people on the left who see this as an issue to win the 2022 election by proposing aggressive gun control that even Republican moderates may not support. And over on the right, you've got perhaps the resurgence of a currently crippled NRA to kind of rally Republican base voters against it. So, you know, it passed the House. I think a narrower background check legislation, if Schumer wants to try for something that might get to those elusive 60 votes, has the best shot. I think he'll be tempted to try to pass something Republicans will be afraid to vote for because of base politics and then use those no votes as a weapon in the 2022 midterm elections where so much is at stake. It's sort of tragic that politics has just taken over our governing on this issue where we learn the lesson, it seems like every week, of another horrible massacre of so many innocents killed. But I think that's the hard, tough reality of gun politics right now.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.